It's Monday, December 9. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. As concerns about dengue continues to loom over the island, the Ministry of Health and Wellness has rolled out its enhanced vector control campaign to minimize public exposure to the disease. Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton outlined the increased measures in an address to the nation on Sunday.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness has stepped up its enhanced vector control program to include 1,000 temporary vector control workers employed to do public education and search and destroy activities in communities to eliminate breeding sites, expanded fogging program to kill the adult mosquitoes in high risk and other communities, and we have rolled out a public education campaign in all forms of media to educate and inform all members of the public on how to decrease their risk and treat the illness if they should become infected. We have partnered with the National Solid Waste Management Authority for solid waste removal and the municipal corporations and MPs for vector control activities in communities across the country.
Minister Tufton also outlined additional steps such as the extension of opening hours for health centers.
The ministry has also increased opening hours in some health centers up to 8 p.m. and on Saturdays in other health centers, provided free treatment for children under 12 years old at the University Hospital of the West Indies, and activated emergency operations centers at the ministry and in all parishes. Additional vehicles and fogging machines have been purchased and more resources allocated to MPs and various ministries and state agencies.
An appeal was also made to citizens to be proactive in dengue prevention.
We're asking that householders be more proactive in dealing with the mosquitoes that cause dengue. We have utilized in the past a protocol whereby householders spray the inside of their homes with a domestic insecticide such as Baygon and Pyro. This exercise targets mosquitoes in areas of the home that are not usually reached by fogging, such as in the closets and under the bed. Persons who have respiratory illness or who are at risk for respiratory illnesses, such as asthma, should not participate in this exercise.
As at July 22, 2019, there were 4,930 suspected, presumed or confirmed dengue cases in the island. The government is working on a possible US $100 million grant from the People's Republic of China to help rebuild the infrastructure of the local coffee industry. Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, Audley Shaw, made the announcement at Saturday night's inaugural awards banquet for contributors to the growth and development of the industry, which was hosted by the Jamaica Coffee Exporters Association at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel.
We are looking at a grant from the Chinese government of $100 million to build out the infrastructure into the Blue Mountain region. Infrastructure. Road infrastructure, access infrastructure, so that we can build out better and higher quality production of Blue Mountain coffee. We're working on that project right now.
5 veterans of Jamaica's coffee industry, John Oliver Jackie Minot, St. Clair Shirley, Dr. Charles Lynn, Richard Anthony Sharp, and current chairman of the JCEA and former Jamaica Agriculture Society chairman Norman Grant were honored at the function. Minister Shaw made the announcement while giving the keynote address at the function, following an appeal for increased government support for the industry from the JCEA. Finance and Public Service Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke says the country's healthy net international reserves, NIR, at nearly $3.2 billion has enabled for the timely servicing of debts. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke explained that Jamaica has now achieved external sustainability, which means the country is now in a position to pay and service its external obligations as they become due. This external sustainability, he argued, is one that we have not been able to achieve for a long time. And Jamaica's economic gains are being noticed globally. Clarke said it was made evident when Jamaican flag was recently flown over the New York Stock Exchange building in the United States, saluting the pole performance of the country's stock market. He was speaking Sunday at the third staging of the annual Mayor's Charity Ball held at the S Hotel Jamaica Convention and Events Place, hosted by the Montego Bay Mayor, Councillor Homer Davis. Staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade will be walking into their new offices come March 2020. The recently completed multi-billion-dollar building located in Kingston, downtown. That is the word from the Permanent Secretary, Ambassador Marcia Gilbert Roberts, in response to queries about missed deadlines for its occupancy. Chinese firm Jiangsu Construction Group Company Limited built the 11-story building with 17 department levels to accommodate 285 staff members. After construction ended in October, the building was formally handed over to the government by the Chinese authorities at a ceremony at its Port Royal Street, downtown Kingston address on Wednesday, October 16. Reportedly, however, the addressing of plumbing issues delayed the relocation. Senate approved the Human Employment and Resources Training Amendment and Change of Name Act 2019 on Friday. The bill seeks to merge the functions of the Heart Trust, NTA, with the National Youth Service, the Apprenticeship Board, and the Jamaican Foundation for Lifelong Learning. Acting Leader of Government Business in the Senate, Pernell Charles Jr., said the bill seeks to give effect to the decision of the government to create an institution that will refocus all the government's training resources into one agency.
The decision, Mr. President, to merge the Heart Trust NTA with the National Youth Service and the Apprenticeship Board is consistent with this plan. And it is consistent with the thrust of the government, which aims to create a more efficient public sector.
The bill was passed with 17 amendments. The Human Employment and Resources Training Amendment and Change of Name Act 2019 will also repeal the Apprenticeship Act and the National Youth Service Act. It was approved in the House of Representatives with 23 amendments on November 19.
It is considered that the merge of the functions and the resources of the above-mentioned entities will solidify several benefits, including, but not limited to, the rationalization of programs and systems to efficiently and effectively meet the education and training needs of Jamaicans, the avoidance of duplication of administrative and other functions, the facilitation, Mr. President, of the full alignment of remedial training, technical and vocational training, and support of the employability skills program, the improvement of the quality of graduate output, and, colleagues, the expansion of training opportunities to unattached youth and youth at risk in Jamaica.
Senator Charles Jr. said the bill is a critical element of human capital development and is a manifestation of a passionate mission that was conceptualized by late former Prime Minister Edward Seaga, who established the Heart Trust NTA. He said this policy initiative is to return the Heart Trust to the original vision of an institution with a significant role to play in nation building to ensure that no Jamaican youth is left behind.
The bill that is before us will therefore streamline training processes. It will clearly establish the rights and obligations of trainees, employers, and the Heart Trust NSTA. It will provide for such transitional measures as necessary to facilitate the smooth transfer of administrative responsibilities to the Trust. And it will provide for the issuance, validation, or recognition as required of certificates or other academic qualifications, distinctions, or awards to current and former participants of the training programs that are now going to be merged with the Trust.
The government has completed a comprehensive review of safety and security regulations in public schools in the wake of the tragic death of a 7-year-old student at Clarke Primary in October. Addressing mourners at the funeral of Benjamin Beer at the North Street Seventh-day Adventist Church in Kingston, Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Dr. Grace McLean, said that a plan of action would be launched in the near future. Benjamin was killed at his school on October 28 by an unmanned garbage truck that mysteriously sped off before crashing into a taxi, overturning and crushing the boy. A parent in the taxi also sustained injuries. Benjamin's funeral was attended by scores of mourners, including former schoolmates who poured out their hearts in tribute. In regional news, the Dominica Labour Party DLP has won a 5th consecutive term in office. Friday's victory follows a bruising general election campaign and is also Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt's 4th consecutive term in office. His wife, Melissa, has also won her seat as the DLP took an additional 3 constituencies to now control 18 of the 21 seats in the Assembly. The Lennox-Linton-led United Workers' Party has won 3 seats. The Prime Minister immediately called for peace, reconciliation and national healing. Just under 75,000 people were registered to cast ballots. The recently formed Change Guyana political party says it will use any parliamentary influence it gets from the upcoming general elections to push for constitutional reform. Among the reforms is to reduce the power of the president.
Outlined a slew of political and judicial reforms propositions, among which are reducing the powers of the president and ensuring that citizens are actively involved in the decision-making process. At its second press conference this week held at the Pegasus Hotel, party member and owner of Arakara Resort in the west bank of Demerara, Sace Sinarine, charted a proposal which will make its way into the manifesto when it is released in January 2020. Sinarine believes a referendum on new constitution is necessary. He said Change Guyana hopes to bring in constitutional experts to design a constitution which will see Guyana going back to having a ceremonial head of state untouched by politics.
Before we became independent, we had a governor general. After independence, we have an executive president. Since the 1980 Constitution, we've been pretty much the president pretty much had carte blanche as to what it is he does.
He said Change Guyana wants to go to the time when citizens were directly involved in electing those who represent them in Parliament.
The people choose their representative. Their representatives make laws, and their representatives oversight those who are administering those laws. So they are accountable to the people. It is very important to understand the link in such countries.
He said the party wants to see a new constitution putting in place provisions to allow Parliament to exercise oversight over the government. This will see the Prime Minister recruiting competent people to join the cabinet, but cautioned that members of Parliament cannot also serve at the cabinet level, as is the current practice. He believes a lot of the ills facing Guyanese today are as a direct result of the current constitution and how it disperses political power.
Such a constitution will return power to the people. Guyana will become a democracy. This will be the beginning to the end of racial politics, racial discrimination, marginalization, corruption, and incompetence. Should the Change Guyana form the next government or hold the balance of power, it will focus all efforts on holding a referendum on a new constitution, and if approved, will then work to have new elections in the shortest possible time under that new constitution. Guyana will become a true democracy.
In sports, we're on the creases with cricket. West Indies beat India by 8 wickets in the second T20 International on Sunday to level the 3-match series at 1-1. Opener Lyndell Simmons put on crucial partnerships, including a 73-run opening stand with Evan Lewis, who made 40, as West Indies chased down their target of 171 with 9 balls to spare. Wicket-keeper batsman Nicholas Puran hit the winning boundary to finish unbeaten on 38 after returning to the side following his 4-match ban for ball tampering. The third and final match is in Mumbai on Wednesday. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching.